What's up, y'all? I'm Lawyer Wynton. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite shows of 2021. That's Invincible, and how the original creator of the comic book series is now about to get Omni-Man punched in the face with yet another lawsuit, being accused of something he's been accused of doing before with other comic book properties. And if you haven't watched Invincible, I highly recommend you take the time to head over to Amazon. Check it out. It starts out amazing and then just gets bonkers wild as you're watching. It just gets wild. It's such a fun series to watch. But now, as I was mentioning, the creator is facing down yet another lawsuit. This is Robert Kirkman. He wrote and published 144 issues of Invincible between 2003 and 2018. They're absolutely great. If you like comic books, go check them out if you haven't already read this comic book series. The first 50 issues were colored by William Crabtree, who started his career as a colorist in 2003 with the launch of Invincible and Fire Breather, which with Image Comics. Image Comics is absolutely legendary. The properties they have over there as far as comic books go are the diamond standard, in my opinion. And William Crabtree, he knows what he's doing. He was nominated for a Harvey Award for his work on Invincible. But now William Crabtree is saying that he co-created Invincible, and in 2005, Kirkman tricked him into giving up his ownership stake in Invincible under the guise that it would be easier to sell to studios. I think this is a good time to take a step back and let's get in the legal weeds just a little bit. Hang in there with me. Don't go anywhere. Hang in there with me. It's important that we talk about copyright, especially if you envision yourself going into some kind of creative space in the entertainment or art space. You got to know this. This is the basics. Copyright is essential. It is a constitutional right. It's given to you by the Constitution. It's given to you by law. Here it is. Copyright is automatic. You don't have to register it. There are reasons why you should and will have to register in the future if you're, facing down like a copyright infringement case or something like that. But that's neither here nor there. For right now, for what we're talking about, copyright is automatic, right? And it's given to us by the U.S. Constitution and is granted by law. And here are the magic words, right? Granted by law, original works of authorship fixed in a tangible medium of expression. As long as you check those boxes, you are granted copyright ownership of whatever you create. So it's just got to be an original work. It's got to be something you created of authorship by you. So you've got to be the one to author this creation. It's got to be fixed. That means it's got to exist in some way that you can perceive it, you can look at it, you can touch it, you can perceive it in some way. It's got to be fixed in a tangible medium of expression, right? So it's just got to be fixed in some way. You take a photograph, paint a picture, type out your novel, whatever. It's got to be fixed in a tangible medium of expression. If you check all those boxes, you automatically are given this bundle of rights, a bundle of exclusive rights in copyright over your creation, right? So you're the only person that can reproduce that work. You're the only person that can prepare derivative works being things, more things that are based on your original work, the first thing that you made. So like a sequel to a movie. You're the only one that can distribute copies, so sell it, lease it, rent it. You're the only person that can destroy it. You're the only person that can publicly display it or publicly perform it or publicly transmit it in some digital means, right? So you get this like exclusive bundle of rights. The only way that somebody can get their hands on any of these rights involved in your copyright ownership of something you created is if you give it to them in some kind of agreement, right? And that is basically what Crabtree is saying happened in this case, is that he was tricked into giving up his rights in Invincible. So Devin McRae is the attorney representing Crabtree, and in his lawsuit that he filed, McRae wrote that fraud and deceit have become a standard business practice for Kirkman and is apparently where his true creative aptitude lies. Whew, those are heavy words. Basically saying like he has no creativity outside of stealing other people's creativity. And I imagine that McRae is obviously pointing the court to past lawsuits filed against Kirkman for similar reasons. In particular, McRae represented an artist by the name of Tony Moore in 2012, a 2012 suit alleging where Moore alleged that Kirkman tricked him out of his interest in the Walking Dead comic book series, which ended up being settled for an undisclosed amount of money outside of court 2 months later. Right? So here, Crabtree is saying that Kirkman had an oral agreement that granted him 20% of single cell proceeds of Invincible and 10% of any of the revenue generated from other film or television commercial exploitation of the work together, where any derivative projects based on the work and any allied or ancillary rights in the work, right? Also, like, put things on paper. Oral agreements rarely work out in favor of the parties who are part of that oral agreement, because everybody's going to forget what was part of the oral agreement, right? But basically, Crabtree is alleging that when it came time to put that deal in writing, Kirkman and his agents tried to fraudulently induce him to assign his copyright interests over to Kirkman's company. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier. The only way that somebody can get a hold of any of your rights involved in something that you created is if you sign the dotted line and sign it over to him, right? He's saying that Kirkman approached him at the 2005 San Diego Comic-Con and presented him with a certificate of authorship, which characterized all of the contributions as work for hire. This is a huge distinction to say something is work for hire, because when you say, so like if you do a deal with somebody that they create something for you and it is a work for hire deal, when they agree that it is work for hire, they are agreeing that they have up front that they have no copyright ownership in the work. They are saying that they are creating it, they are being paid to create it for you, and you, as a person that is hiring them to create it, hold all the rights in whatever it is that they've created, right? So Crabtree says that when Kirkman brought him this certificate of authorship, said that he was in the final stages of licensing Invincible for television production, and that having it presented by a single creator would increase its commercial viability. I call total bullshit. If anybody ever comes up to you and says some shit like that, laugh and walk away, because it does. Everybody who is a creator on a project like this should get their they should get their due on something that they created, right? So the lawsuit says that after the document was signed by Kirkman continued to pay Crabtree for the comic sales and in connection with the licensure of the series by MTV for TV and by Paramount for a television series and film option. So he was still paying Crabtree at this point. But Crabtree is saying that when he learned in 2020 that Amazon Studios was moving forward on a plan to launch a show, Kirkman told him that he was not entitled to any money because he had no ownership interest in the series. Right? So this is where Kirkman starts to show his colors, right? According to the lawsuit, this is where he starts to show his colors. The lawsuit points out that something that is super important, that when Crabtree questioned Kirkman about why Kirkman continued to pay Crabtree royalties on the work for years after the certificate of authorship, Kirkman stated those royalty payments were actually just bonuses that he paid at his discretion. That's insane. That's him trying to dodge it. Basically, like, Crabtree's lawsuit is ultimately seeking a judgment that is stating that he is the co-creator of Invincible, and he wants an accounting of everything that he would be owed from all of the sales and all that kind of stuff, and punitive damages. So we'll see where this goes. I imagine that this is going to end up similar to what happened with The Walking Dead, where it's probably going to settle. But I think in this case, where Crabtree, yes, he wants to get paid. I think for most artists, they just want to get, they want to get their respect in being known as somebody who created something as iconic and awesome as Invincible. But we'll see where this goes. Until next time, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Please subscribe. I'll see you next time.